In Parshas Vayeshev, they tell the Torah tells us, Wegen Yosef HaTzadik, about Yosef the Tzadik. This week's Torah portion tells us about the story of Yosef the Tzadik. Very, very bizarre story about Yosef. This is a speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in, 1957. Tells about Yosef. This we're reading, it's called LIkuti Sichot Aleph, the first book of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's compiled speeches. Like I said, I think today there's like 45 books. Here we're learning about the story about Yosef. As Erez given Yafet Tor v'Yafet Mar, he was a beautiful shape and a beautiful appearance. When at Mesalsel given Basaro, and he was like, you would curl his hair. Mitzad dem, because of that, it says, was given, I think there's a letter missing here. Batisa Aisha, I don't know, that the wife of Potiphar, she liked the way he looked. Now, Egypt was a very licentious country. So it's called the Ervis Olam. If the whole world is like one big body, so Egypt is like the genitals of the world. And the people over there were very devoted to having sexual pleasures. And the higher the people got, the more they were devoted. And the wife of Potiphar, she all of a sudden got a tremendous desire for Yosef. Yosef was very beautiful. He was very good looking. And I don't know if that was really a necessary criterion for this debauchery that they had over there, but nevertheless, it certainly did not detract from it. So she wanted to have Yosef to have relations with her. Because of that, it says, man hot im, the letters are missing over there, hot im rein gesetzt in Tefisa, because Yosef refused to have relations with her, so she made up the story that he tried to rape her, and he was put into prison. And even when he was in prison, is Asher Hu Oseh Hashem Yitzlich. Wherever he was, God gave him success. So Yosef was his life was pretty much finished. That's it. He was accused of trying to rape. The Potiphar was this big macher over there. He was a big guy. You can't rape like it's like the president of the United States' wife. You can't rape her. So whatever she said, that when especially Yosef didn't have any friends, he didn't even have any family. His family hated him. They put him into prison. So everybody in the world was basically against Yosef. And now, through no fault of his own, he was given a life sentence in prison for rape. And amazingly enough, he succeeded over there. When they're in this story, Zain and Faran, there are two Thailand. There's two sections. What's going on over here? There we go. Oh. There were two sections of the story. First of all, there's the story about, one second, excuse me. First of all, there's the part about Benogel Yosef. There is given that he was beautiful and he was attractive. And number two, that's Yosef's side of the story. And then there was the wife of Potiphar. She was a licentious, disgusting person, which was like everybody was there, was like that. Beta Thailand, both parts of the story, Zion and Azoi via Allah Inyanim, like everything in the Torah, are Ebeker Einweisung, the eternal teachings to us from unser Führen, on our conduct in day-to-day life. Huh? What can we possibly what can we possibly learn from what Yosef had from these had relations, almost had relations with this disgusting woman? What are we supposed to learn? If Yosef, and by Yosef it says Yosef Hayeli ben Acher. By Yosef, when Yosef was born to his mother, Rachel, so she said, may God add to me another son. Right? She realized that now she gave birth to the 11th son. She knew that there were going to be 12 sons. And she hoped at least she would get not less than Bilhah and Zilpah, the two handmaids. Each one of them had 2 children. So she hoped that she wouldn't have less than Bilhah and Zilpah. So she said, may God have another son. But the words say, may God add to me another son, Ben Acher. The third Rebbe of Chabad says that Yosef, the service of Yosef to us and our service now of God is bestanden, is consisted of the machen su acher, to make someone that is acher, other than us, someone that's outside of Judaism, a Jew which has left Torah, he's left the commandments, he doesn't want anything to do with the God of Israel, to make from this acher someone who's other into a ben, into a son. Yosef, God should add ben, should make a son, should give me a son from acher, for someone who's outside, from someone who is, how do you say, rejected. Acher, someone's an other, an alien. This means machin bali tshuva. It means to make bali tshuva, to make Jews that are not religious, Jews that don't have any visible contact with God, to bring them in contact them with their true identity. Thus call them this power of them to do this. Had Yosef Gehad had Yosef, while line, because he alone is given, was Yofes Torah, Yofes Mara. He had the power to take from acher, from someone who was an alien to Judaism, a Jew that's alien to Judaism, to make him into a ben. Why? Because he was beautiful of appearance and beautiful of form. Yosef is Shane. He was beautiful in Alan Yanim and everything that he did. Whether we're talking about mitzvahs, the positive commandments, or the negative commandments. Like it's explained in a lot of places that Yafet Tor, when it says that Yosef was beautiful in appearance, this is talking about the positive commandments. When it says Yafet Mar'eh, that he was beautiful in whatever is in his shape or whatever. Basically, in Hebrew, both of them mean the same thing. But Tor means the appearance. It explains other places, especially it explains by Esther. By Esther, it's the same thing. It says Ephemare, that mitzvahs lotas are the negative commandments. Therefore, Hat ergekent Mo Yosef, because he was beautiful of shape and form, namely that he withheld himself, he prevented himself from doing forbidden things, and he forced himself to do positive things. Because of this, he could make from acher, for someone who was strange, alien to his own Judaism, to make him into a ben, to a son. So according to this changes the whole entire meaning totally around. We're saying that the spiritual, Kabbalistic, Hasidic meaning is almost the opposite of the simple meaning. The simple meaning is that because Yosef was beautiful, therefore he drew to himself negative things, bad things, the wife of Potiphar. But now we're saying no, that because Yosef was beautiful in Torah and commandments, that he held himself back from anything that was forbidden, and he did everything that he had to do, all the positive commandments and the negative commandments, is because of that he was able to merit to his namesake, Yosef li Hashem ben Acher, to take from the Acher and make him into a ben. He drew to himself good things. Und das says, and this is the Horah, this is the teaching for every single person, was by Yeda'inam, which every person, mont men dach, we require, is God demands. Zoltan nit nor, he should work not only with himself, zich allein, mit zich gorlein, to work with himself, Oich, but he said, nor, but oich mit ander. You have to deal with other people. Is bichdei in order to oiftan mit yenim, in order to have a good effect on other Jews. Darf men kedanken. You have to remember the general principle. Kashed atzmecha va'achar kach kashed acherim. First of all, fix yourself up, and then fix up others. You have to fix yourself up, but don't suffice with just fixing yourself up. You have to fix up other. The goal of fixing yourself up is in order to bring other Jews also closer to Judaism. Men, darf, you have to align. Yafet Torah, you have to be yourself, beautiful in appearance and beautiful in form. In other words, doing the positive commandments and refraining from all the negative commandments, the prohibitions. Men darf align Yafet Torah, Yafet Mara, vet and canon. Then only can you have an effect also on other people. Men made nit, you don't, I'm not, the Rebbe is saying, I'm not trying to say, as men zol varten, that you have to wait, mit vernemen sich, wait until you deal with other people, that you should wait until bis men vet sukum, until you can come to tachlis hashlemus. It doesn't mean you have to finish and be completely wholesome. You have to finish all of the shas and learn all the chasidus, and then when you're like 80 years old or something, you know as much as you could, and you fix yourself, then you can go out and work with other people. Said no, said the Rebbe. Das is sicher nit azoi. This is certainly not so, because there's no end to it. You'll always say I have to do a little more. You'll never get around to actually trying to influence others. Nit kukendik, a person has to, notwithstanding, or if they're eingem matzav, on what situation you are in, must menton, you have to deal with other people. On mentor nit upgelegen, you can't leave this up. The Rebbe said that a person, let's say a Jew, that all he knows is 2 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. He just started. He knows Aleph base. He says he can find a Jew that only knows Aleph and teach him base. You know a little bit more than someone else. That little bit you have an obligation to share with others. But from then, but on the other hand, darf men gedenken, you have to always remember, as men mustan mitzich, you have to work with yourself. You can't just say, I'm going to go out and spread Judaism to others and forget about working on yourself. I haven't got any time to learn or to pray, to think about God, to work on my personality, my character. Verrichten die engene chesronis, you have to fix up whatever is lacking in your personality. Und das the verrichten, the engenem, when you fix up whatever is lacking in you, is nogea nit nor. This is not only relevant to you yourself, but this is also relevant to other people. So constantly you have to be doing both. A person constantly has to be trying to affect others positively with whatever in any way you can, but never to be satisfied with your own status and say, well, listen, I just convinced every Jew in New York to do tshuva. That's pretty good. I brought 1 million Jews back to Judaism. I think that's good enough. So no way. What are you talking about? You always constantly have to keep working on yourself, and together with that, to work on others. Varum, because b'shas men hat alayin chesronos, if you yourself have blemishes in your personality, was men tut nit in verrichten, and you don't try to fix it up. Right? You have a bad temper, you're lazy, whatever, you have desires, you're not 100% honest. If you don't fix those things up, as field dust their sveta, the other person will sense it. And b'meila, automatically can men nit oiftan, you cannot have any good effect on the other person, or at least in a complete way. Das was men darf in im oiftan, you can't accomplish what you want to accomplish with the other person. So what's the Rebbe saying? One of the basic principles of Judaism is love your neighbor as yourself. So the best way you can love another Jew is by convincing him to be a Jew, to be himself, right? To be himself. If you see a human being that thinks that he's a dog, wants to act like a dog, so the best thing you can do, if you can, convince him he's not a dog, he's a human being. The same thing with the Jew. You have to convince him that he's a Jew. Darf men wesen, you have to know. And the grosser achrayas, the tremendous obligation and responsibility, was man hat, which we have, benogea zu verrichten, the engenem chesronos, to fixing up your own faults. Varum, because oiv men tut nit in them, if you don't occupy yourself with fixing yourself up, she Schaden men nit schadent men nit nor sich. You not only are damaging yourself, but you're also damaging other people. You're a bad example. So even if you have a terrible personality, you only have one good thing. Let's say you learned a little bit of Torah, so you have to go and teach that Torah to other people. But that in no way absolves you from fixing yourself up. Men darf legen gor grois ishtadlus. You have to put tremendous emphasis on fixing yourself up, and that you alone should be of, like Yosef, beautiful form and beautiful shape, because this handelt sich nit wegen a yechid nor wegen a rabbim, because you are not just occupied with yourself. Every Jew has an obligation to have a good influence on every other Jew. And all the Jews together have an obligation to try to have a good influence on the whole world. The whole the teaching from this is we can learn from the story of the wife of Potiphar. The rabbis tell us, as Ashes Potiphar, that the wife of Potiphar, even though that she was a licentious woman, like everybody in Egypt was, but nevertheless, L'Shem Shemaim Niskabnu. Her intentions were holy. What is that holy? She had any idea what holy means? We'll see. Zihat Gezen, she saw, as from ear that from her, and Roiskakum will come children to Yosef. She knew that from her would come children from Yosef, Ephraim and Menashe. Nor Zihat, Atos, she just had a mistake. This is given nit from ear, not from her, but from her daughter. She got married to the daughter of Paro. It says the Ashes Potiphar. She had her daughter, it says, got married to Yosef, and she gave birth to Ephraim and to Menashe. Pretty weird. One more, just one more. Oh. Zedman Darfon. So we see from this, let's make this a little bigger. Here we go. Just give me one moment here. Let me just take a little pause here. So what do we learn from this? That the wife of Potiphar, she was a tremendously decadent person. But nevertheless, it says that she saw that children would come, holy children would come out from her. She didn't know that it really meant that the children were going to come out from her was going to be from her daughter. As Zedman, we can see, as Kenzain, it could be, an Inyan, a thing, which in Cheson is what's externally, Bepol, and actually is thus, and Gansen, Aipech from Kedusha, it's the opposite of holy. But in Penimis, but in the inside, is Zain Kavana, the intention is Gor L'Shem Shemaim, only for the sake of heaven. Oiv Mosif Zain Un Oiftan in Kedusha, to add something in holiness. So sometimes we can be in a situation that seems to be the worst possible situation, has nothing to do with Judaism and nothing to do with good, nothing to do with, but somehow or other, from that will come good. The Alter Rebbe said in the book, in the Tanya, as B'shas a Yid, when a Jew stands and he prays, when B'shas Maise, and when he's doing it, kum to him a goy, comes to him a Gentile, un is mebalbal, and he tries to confuse him and disturb him, as Darv does in Paul, that should cause by the Jew, as nit nor, that not only does zol im nit up shvachen, it should not only confuse him and make him weaker, nor adarab, exactly the opposite. Does gufa zolim im orzain, it should arouse the Jew, mer chizuk, to be stronger, to deepen his mind, and not to pay any attention to all these disturbances. In order to do that, you have to really pay attention to your prayer. You have to really deepen yourself into the as zol daven, and a person should pray mit kavana, with mer kavana, with more intention and in a deeper way. In order to really sink his mind into, I'm thinking about God, I'm praying to God, I'm thinking about the greatness of God, the oneness of God, and to ignore all these disturbances that are coming up. In Plu, but if we look at this right at first glance, is doch nid verstanden, it's not understandable. Or the kavanah, if the intention is to sein, dem yidden, if the intention is to arouse the Jew, that he should pray with more intention, as hein for vos kumtes epis often in such a way that there's a Gentile that he's trying to prevent him from davening. Was does is doch a verkehrter Indian. This is the opposite. God wants this Jew to pray more deeply. So he should make the room a little quieter so that shouldn't be any disturbances in the room and that everything is conducive. All of a sudden he has these good thoughts and there's nothing disturbing him. That's conducive to praying deeply. No, when God wants a Jew to daven, to pray more deeply and more into, what does he do? He sends someone to disturb him and to interfere with his thought and to interfere with his peace of mind. So now the Jew has to, on his own, has to find somehow or other some sort of a trick that he can do to ignore all this static that's coming from the outside. Nor the pshat is. So why does God want us, if he wants us to pray, wants us to do things, so we should take away the disturbances instead of increasing them? Why? Why would God do a thing like that? The answer is, as their goy, that this Gentile himself is in Penimus, and inside he is the source. His source was their shorish from Yeder Zach, which the source of everything everything comes from God, everything comes from holiness. As the non-Jew, Veis und filt as darf epis Moshiach sein in Kedusha. This Jew, this anti-Semite, that he's trying to disturb this Jew from praying, somehow or other, deep down in the essence of his soul, he knows that he has to help this Jew. Nor, azoi wie das geht durch dem Vermittlung from a goy, but because God wants to make this Jew pray deeper, and he sends it through this anti-Semite, as nor azoi wie das, this is, here it is, as therefore, drich sich das ois in a verkehrte Eufen. Because God decided that he wants to make this Jew daven pray deeper, and he wants to do it through this non-Jew, so therefore it comes out in a crooked way, in an opposite way. But the intention, the inner intention is that it should help him to pray more deeply. What's the lesson to us? Azoivir, their Medrash, like the story about the Maggid of Mezrich. We learned about that before. He passed away also on this day. As Zakti said, as der ganzen Ingen, the whole thing of Loven, was Loven, is nach geläufen, that Loven ran after Yaakov to destroy him, to kill him, was weil es haben gedarft zukommen nor osis in the Torah, because God wanted to put more letters in the Holy Torah, to add holiness in the Torah. Therefore, Lavan, he ran after Yaakov in order to kill him, because that story is a Ryan Geshik Gevin in Torah, because it's part of the Torah. And by means of this, that added on a whole new paragraph in the Torah, even though it's terrible things. But the Torah itself is holy. So it added holiness in the Torah. Und das ist a this is a teaching. Benogea to Allah olamos, helamos, regarding to all the things which hide and conceal and oppose serving God, was der emes, the truth is, wie der Inyan state, epinemius, the truth is how it is in its source, in its depth, in its real origin. The origin of bad is really good. So therefore, when something, God forbid, bad happens, or comes a disturbance or a confusion in the world, you have to know that it comes from God, as nit nor, that not only was is nit kain menaged, that it's not really opposing Judaism and that you can ignore it, but even more, adarabba, as help, this is coming to help you to be stronger in your holiness. Nor vibal, but because does gate durach azoy tzinor, it comes through such a means as this anti-Semite, this non-Jew, as darfen teich, therefore darfen teicht sich, therefore teich sich das ois in a pirush hafchi, therefore it can look and appear to be exactly the opposite of holiness. But in Penimus, the inside is, thus a health is really helping you and adding on to holiness. So really we have an interesting thing, specifically through the bad, negative, difficult times, that's what strengthens us. That's what brings out a new level of self and truth and stability in ourselves, specifically through these difficult times. Take an example from Yosef, a normal person nowadays. If all of your brothers hated you and they all three went to prison, and you got a person would commit suicide. So what am I doing here? Everybody hates me. Everybody's against me. Everybody's saying bad things about me. I'm not getting any sort of positive feedback from the world. People are lying about me. They're throwing me in prison. I'm totally alone. I'm totally abandoned, right? What have I got to look forward to? Says the Rebbe exactly the opposite. All these negative things are coming only to strengthen you and show who you really are. Und beschaßen, when der Mensch, a person wird sich nicht narren und nicht haben them toes. A person doesn't fool himself. It doesn't have the mistake. But their goy had, which this non-Jew has, namely that praying is not a good thing, and etc. Nor ervet bezen, he should know, as in Ra, Yored Milamaila, the bad, it never comes from above. As is Gor Nitakain Helamus, there's no concealment, nothing can really hide God. Voser Zed, which he sees, sign a siyua and kedusha, it's helping in holiness. Umemela, so automatically is nit no, it's not only was Gor. Oh, I'm sorry. Umemela is nit no, it's not only was there Helem darf in im nit polim. Not only should these negative things not have a bad effect on you, kein schwachet, and shouldn't make you weaker or take away your enthusiasm. No, Adarab, exactly the opposite. Does darf noch in im poilen should cause a hosefes koach bechizuk, an additional power and strength. Beshas ervet does dar feeling, when a person feels up machen, and he makes by himself, he makes a resolution by himself, a fester beschloss, a firm resolution, mit an emes with the truth, is faran emes veren al's batal. Then all of a sudden you'll see that all the negative things will all go away. As veren batal, all of them that will go away, all of the halos basisterium, all the concealments and the difficulties, manias vikuvim, varum, because dorach them, by means of this, was vase, which he knows the truth, as in yeder zach, that in everything is a spark of godliness, and everything is really trying to help us. God is trying to help us to be more holy, and to be more positive, to be more alive, to be more happy. As dorach them, by means of this, as soon as you realize that, then dorach them pulled air oich in them davar malim. Then he has an effect not only on himself psychologically, but also in the actual opposition that he has. As vert in darvecht, it'll wake up in the negative thing. It'll wake up when anplekt sein nitzus, the spark ubemele is oich da lamata, also below zedmin oich, in an open way, the true intention, as this brings to ourself in kedusha, and in addition in holiness. What does is the Horan? This is the teaching from them Maimar, what it says, Eshes Potiphar l'shem shemayim niskavno. That's what it means. What the rabbis say, that the wife of Potiphar, she really intended for the sake of heaven, even though that externally, the wife of Potiphar intended to pull Yosef down into the lowest levels of what is it, degradation. That's degradation. To pull him down into the lowest levels of decadence. That's what she wanted to do. But that was externally what it seemed, but internally it wasn't so. And because Yosef only looked at the inside of it, so therefore Bashas is as a helam. Therefore, we should know that anytime that anything conceals Zayin and Dot Svei Devarim in them, you should know there's always two things. Number one thing is the milchama, you have to make a war with the thing, versus malim, which conceals you. Don't give in. Thus says this means menemt das taka in an for an emissary helimvester, that you take it that it is something that is really trying to oppose you. In other words, don't give in. Un men hot Haravit, that you have to work with all of your powers to have a war against the bad. That's one way. There's another way. It's Sveta Weg. A second way is was Z is ge geschmacker, which is more pleasant and more, how do you want to say, more appealing, is when something bad happens, instead of just holding your ground and saying, I'm not going to give. So we have three ways. Either you can give in, right? You can give in and say, okay, I'll stop being religious. I'll stop doing Judaism. I'll stop doing enough. I see that it's not working. Number one. Number two is menveis as bepinimis, when so you make a war. You make a war. That's number one, is you give in. You surrender. That's bad. That's bad. And that's what most people do. You have any difficulties in life, you just, how do you say, you give up. Too much from you. You get depressed or whatever. Number two, you make a war. I'm not going to fall down. I'm going to hold my own ground. Number three is you shouldn't, there's another way, how do you say, taxis, I forget the word. What is it called? Another strategy, war strategy. There's a better word for it. Water strategy is that that in the inside is thus nor a siua, that really bad things that happen, this is coming to help you. A person, when you take a firm stand, as men das ma'or magala, that the reason for these bad things is only that it should arouse. As thus kumt arup oich begila, it's coming down in a revealed way, that we should reveal the good which this bad thing is trying to reveal, is trying to force us to dig into ourselves and reveal, is when it comes in reveal a durach davar amalim, that it comes, this is only, the bad things are only a means to raise us up higher, as kumtsu tosfus or in kedusha, then it adds an additional level in holiness. So we can take an example from Yosef, this evil wife of Potiphar. She tried to seduce him. He resisted. He got thrown into prison. He was in prison over there and ended up for 12 years. Terrible. And it ended up that because of all this and because of her, that he saved the whole entire world from starvation. That the Pharaoh had a dream and he didn't know how to interpret it, and it worried him. And then the minister of what is it, wine that was there, he got taken out. And he saved Paro, he saved Yosef, pulled him out. Yosef interpreted the dream, and it saved the whole entire world. Good. After that, because he saved the whole entire world, it ended up that all the Jews went down into Egypt. They went down on really good terms. And then after that, they got trapped in Egypt. So it was bad ending. It says, no, after they were trapped in Egypt, they got out. They received the Torah. So it was a good ending. So it's constantly, everything that's in the world that's negative is only coming for a positive purpose. And if we remember that, then we don't fall down on ourselves. We don't become crestfallen, number one. And number two, we reveal the treasures that are being hidden inside. We just have to dig. Have a good day with Moshiach now, God willing, tomorrow, 8:15. A happy holiday to everybody. Today is Yud Tes Kislev, the day that the true secret intention, the reason for creating the world was revealed, and how we can actually bring it into manifestation, serving the Creator with His Torah and His commandments with tremendous joy and self-sacrifice. Have a good day with Moshiach now. See you all tomorrow, 8:15.